Oh.
Alrighty, I'm Jahan.
And I'm Chelsea.
Here we are in the farm in Ecuador, the Young Living farm in Ecuador, and we are sitting in pretty much a Ylang forest, right?
Yes.
Isn't it incredible?
I mean, there's just so much ylang everywhere you look.
So we learned something really interesting about ylang and what it takes to harvest ylang.
Okay, so the first thing is that these parts of the ylang, it's all hand-picked. And you need to look at the color inside. So, Aunt Glenda, can you come on in? So, do you see this?
It's
see
almost ready.
See how it's red? How it's all red?
You see how you get that red stripe inside the ylang flower? That means that it's almost ready to harvest. When it's really red, then it's ready. Now you're going to find one. You see how this one doesn't have it? This one's not ready to harvest. You see that? So what does that tell us? There's a couple things that tells us here. First of all, that's how you get it. Now, Gary says he could distill it, he could do all that stuff, he could get it to smell like ylang, right? But it won't, again, have the same properties that we want, the therapeutic properties for it. Plus, they were talking about how it's burned and...
Exactly.
Right?
And it literally, they get people from, they said from the area.
Local people.
Local women, usually, because they said they have more patience. And they come and they literally pick them hand by hand, one at a time.
One at a time, just like this, right?
That's
They
it.
just take this flour, they stick it in a basket, they bring it up to the distiller, which is right here on property. Another thing that's really important, right? It's not traveling miles or across the country or across the sea. It's not doing it. It's right here on property. They have the distiller, and they take all the ones with the stripe. Now, here's what's interesting, what I was going to say before, too, and you really touched upon it, that it has to be hand-picked. So not only do we have to wait for the growing time, you know,
absolutely,
then we have to wait for them to be ready. Now, Gary in Young Living could just say, hey, look, there's a whole bunch of flowers right here. Let's just pick this because we could produce the oil. We could get the smell for it, right? And who's going to know the wiser?
Exactly.
But we know the wiser because you know what? They're harvesting up there, and we harvest. And what did we say?
Oh, it will literally blow your mind when you see it. They also make sure that they don't pound it in either. So there's a certain amount that they use at a time. So that way they're not all pressed together. So you do get the purest quality.
Otherwise it damages the flowers, right?
Exactly.
I mean, how much, doesn't it blow you away, Chelsea? How did you feel when you're hearing this? Does it blow you away how much care goes into what we get?
It's unbelievable. It's literally life-changing to see all of this in person.
It is, right? And they said, you know, you could say, well, it's going to be really expensive to do that. And it is. It's a huge expense, this operation. So you know what they have here? And we'll touch upon it on something else or other pictures or whatever. They have a brick factory.
Yes. They make their own bricks.
They make their own bricks, and then they sell them to the community. They make really high-quality bricks. They sell them to, you know, whoever needs them, to contractors and whatnot, and they offset the price of our oils. It helps to subsidize the price because it's so arduous and so time-consuming.
And it's expensive to have this farm, even just to have the farm itself.
Yeah.
It's very expensive.
So Young Living goes to great lengths. Can you imagine any other company?
Nope.
You know how we know that we can't imagine it? Because there's no other company with farms. That's just the facts, folks. If you're not using Young Living oils, you're not using oils. That's all there is. Thank you for joining us again.
Bye.
That's my new slogan. If you're not using Young Living oils, you're not using